We need to bring true vision and make sure we are the ones defining success. With animal care and control, we should ask ourselves if we are the correct or only form of government to best fill this space. If the answer is yes, then let us truly bring our business mindset to this issue and not let emotions steer this conversation. We are saving more than 95% of the pets that come through our shelters, but at a growing cost to taxpayers. Is this sustainable? We have benchmarked ourselves against other jurisdictions and examined best practices. Now we need to find and implement the right approach for our unique situation. Our nonprofits and cities have a stake in animal care and control as well. We should expand and leverage those partners and ensure everyone in the community is doing their fair share. We owe it to ourselves and the taxpayers. While the regional parks are not a mandated service classes. First off, to speak, if she'd like to, is Amy Farmer? Did I get that? Farner, okay. I was off one letter, so thank you, Amy. Thank you for coming today.
The story of my life with my last name. I do want to say quickly thank you so much for addressing animal care and control in your speech. Obviously, that's why we've been here for months, and so I just wanted to say thank you for that update. I'm here as an advocate for some employees of MCACC West. I have been asked by a few of them to speak to you on their behalf because retaliation by management is real, and they don't want the repercussions for speaking up, unfortunately. Here's just one issue I've repeatedly been asked to bring to you, the mouse infestation at West. There is definitely an issue at West as well, or at East as well, but I'm not able to speak to that specifically. Since the building of the new jail, which it's beautiful, but since the building of that, the mice from the giant field have moved into the West shelter and absolutely proliferated. There is a mouse poison in all the buildings that the mice eat and then walk back into the kennels with the dogs. The dogs can eat these mice. There are dead mice everywhere. Also, every kennel is cleaned in the morning, and by the afternoon, volunteers are finding mice droppings and mice themselves scrambling out of the dogs' bedding. Can you imagine? These dogs are living with mice in their beds. It's disgusting. They are also found drowned in their water buckets, amongst all the donated toys, in the clean and dirty laundry, in the food bins to be delivered to the dogs, and dead on the sidewalks. Members of the public have stepped on them and watched them die. It is a big health issue that needs to be addressed for the dogs and humans alike. There are mice holes along the foundation of all the buildings as well. They are tearing apart the drywall and the insulation, and it's easy to see the destruction these tiny animals are causing just by walking around the buildings. Employees have repeatedly brought this to management's attention, and just like the temperature issue, it is being half-heartedly taken care of or even ignored, possibly altogether. Maybe the county facilities department is ultimately responsible for this issue, but something must be done. I prefer to offer solutions to issues instead of just bring up issues, but I am not an exterminator, and I'm here to plead for an investigation. Expert exterminators are definitely needed at this point to stop the very expensive destruction of all the buildings at the West facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for coming today. Next up will be Andrea Alden.
Good morning. When I first started volunteering at MCACC in 2018, I assumed its flaws were the result of being an underfunded, overstressed government agency, and I assumed it was overseen by individuals who were committed to the best interests of the people and pets of Maricopa County. After a visit to Pima County on New Year's Day, where I had the opportunity to visit and tour their animal care center, I now know that I was wrong about both of those things. While MCACC was closed on New Year's Day, PAC opened its doors to a long line of people waiting to adopt. New Year's Day, like July 5th, is a high intake day due to dogs running away from fireworks the night before. It's also a day most people have off of work, so it's a good time to be accessible. Again, our shelter was not even open. PAC did over 100 adoptions that day. Meanwhile, MCACC put 10 dogs on the euthanasia list that weekend. PAC has so many innovative but simple ideas that can improve our shelter dramatically. For example, adopters can send a text to be put into a queue to meet the dog, and then they'll get a text when it's their turn. Meanwhile, at our shelter, adopters stand in line or sit in the lobby, sometimes for hours, and many people get frustrated and just leave. While PAC is spotlessly clean, MCACC is chronically understaffed and unable to keep up with daily maintenance, much less a crisis like the current rodent infestation. PAC is incredibly quiet because every single dog gets out every single day, while at MCACC, dogs can sit in their kennels for over a week with no human interaction other than being fed once a day, which leads to deterioration, which then leads to them being euthanized. PAC has a volunteer force of almost 1,000, while MCACC's program has been decimated, largely due to decisions made by its administration. We need better leadership to bring our shelter into the century. You mentioned at the top of the meeting that you'd like to look at best practices of other shelters, and I'm here to tell you, you need to look no further than 100 miles to the south, where their shelter is really leading the way. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Andrea, for being here. Next up will be Kathleen Bow. Or Kathleen B? Bow? Told you. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to thank you for your hesitancy and inability to do anything for our fired volunteers. Many positive and good things have taken place in this last while. Four Paws and Friends is a nonprofit 501c3 was formed to benefit the dogs at the West Shelter. Through it, we have raised money with a great rummage sale. We've stuffed the sleigh, raffles, and other events. We provided food and manpower for a Thanksgiving feast for the dogs. We provide high quality and much needed supplies for the behavior team, such as scented oils, antlers, bones, and puzzles. And we purchase and directly deliver to all the dogs enrichment 2 times a week. We are creating a searchable database of adoptable dogs, and we're sponsoring senior dogs with care packages and support to get them out. All this has been accomplished with pushback and actual sabotage by the management from the shelter. Cash donations are now tracked, recorded, and deposited, keeping Mary Martin and management from collecting unaccounted for funds. Donations from Amazon, Chewy, and the community are now inventoried, and when Mary Martin takes things, she has to account for them and can't just haul them out. The Miranda report was released, and the public is aware of the dysfunction that employees live with day in and day out. Management has made a feeble attempt to address this, but at least you all are aware of the mess. The volunteer program has been identified as a disaster it is, with the excellent article in the Republic, and I actually have copies of the newspaper article in case some of you didn't get to see it. And most significantly, we know that the shelter is in desperate need for a good volunteer program, and the public is now aware of it.
Kathleen.
Okay, and thank you.
Thank you very much for being here today.
Okay, and can you hand those out? Thank you very much.
Now I'd like to call Jordan Bader.
Hi, it's me again. I know you guys are sick of me coming here and complaining and bringing our concerns, but we are just as sick of coming here complaining and bringing our concerns. My first time coming here, I stated we will not give up on volunteering for MCACC, and we will be sticking by that statement no matter what. Many people have said, why don't they just move on to a different shelter? Why don't they volunteer somewhere else? There are so many dogs that need you guys. But there's no place like County that need people more. It's one of the largest shelters in the country. It has the most dogs at the facility and the least support at the West facility. County used to have a lot of support. Every foundation that has partnered with County has separated themselves from the shelter since Mary has been there. AAWL, the Arizona Humane Society, ARM, and the Fix Adopt Save Alliance, 4 of the biggest names in Arizona, have separated themselves because of the director. The dogs at the West shelter need as much support as they can get. The East shelter has a huge, amazing group of volunteers, so many volunteers for the amount of dogs they have. At West, there's such a small amount of volunteers that are involved. The volunteer program at West has deteriorated. There's not the volunteer program that there used to be. I go there every Monday and there are about 4 to 5 volunteers for over 500 dogs. As I stated before, and I'm sure you're sick of hearing, we will not give up until we are reinstated as volunteers at the shelter. As you can tell, this is not going away. As soon as we got fired, we were on the news. We have continued to come to the Board of Supervisors meeting. More articles came out online, and last week, another article on the front page of the Arizona Republic that you guys haven't passed out yet. Thank you. We are not going away and we are not standing down, so you guys can either work with us or continue to see us at every single meeting. I know every time there's a director at the shelter, there's always people that are complaining and bashing and coming to these meetings. But until you find an effective and progressive director that partners with the community, volunteers, and different foundations, you will get backlash like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Thanks for being here today. And is this the last?
Yes.
Any other speakers? Okay, Miss Lorena Bader, please.
Good morning.
Hi.
Erica, Jordan, and I were fired after a picture of excessive kennel temperatures was shared on social media. Maricopa County responded to the public's outrage over our firing by informing them that we were fired because we discussed undermining the operations of MCACC and denigrated county employees on a social media platform. A mere discussion in a private group chat is enough to undermine the shelter. Saying we love to comment in a video is denigrating an employee. A thinking person knows that those accusations are ridiculous. So instead of doing what is right and just, you have chosen to remain silent. In doing so, you have trampled on our civil rights and publicly defamed us. I predict that the court of law will not rule in your favor. Although it is understandable that you immediately supported Mary Martin and Jose Santiago, it became readily apparent that they were not deserving of this unconditional support. We provided evidence of a highly toxic, hostile, and unprofessional work environment and some highly unethical practices. I did not want to be on the front page of the Arizona Republic, speaking in front of you at every Board of Supervisor meeting, or suing Maricopa County. I would much prefer addressing these concerns privately and being part of the solution. Your lack of response to our concerns has made that impossible. I do have some new ideas for 2020 that would significantly improve conditions at MCACC. Creation of a citizens oversight committee with key stakeholders addressing concerns and working towards solutions. Conducting a monthly town hall meeting where the community can address concerns. Evaluation of supervisors, managers, and the director by employees and volunteers. Conducting an operational and financial audit. And finally, reinstatement of dedicated volunteers who did nothing more than try to help the dogs at MCACC because management did not care enough to do something. As Albert Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lorena. Appreciate y'all coming and talking with us today. Okay, next is number